starting in the cardiogenesis, cancer epidemiology, immunotherapy, chemotherapy, target-oriented therapies. I will try not to be talking about AI. People talked about it a lot already. Genetic test, individualized medicine, and I'm planning to finish everything after that in normal cells. After the DNA repair mechanisms are broken, cells get multiplied uncontrolled, and that results in cancer cells. If we can't control them, they invade surrounding tissues with lymph and blood. They could go to other parts and they could cause metastasis, and it could cause problems. Before 3000 BC, we still had cancer. While they did not call it cancer, they still had it in a papyrus back then. They defined 8 different breast cancer cases, and they tell us how they treated it. And they describe the cases, they give solution methods, and they take a note that it cannot be treated. And really, there is no cure. Hippocrates first used it as the calcinous cancer. And surgery has always been the primary treatment for cancer from the past to today. Then they try to solve it by radiotherapy. Then we have chemotherapy, but still cancer is a mortal and untreatable disease, and main reasons are tobacco and side products, family history, chemical exposure, virus, bacteria. They could all cause cancer. And when we look at the global data in 2025, it's expected to have 20 million new cancer cases, and this number to be reached 35 million by 2050. And cancer is the second major death reason after ischemic cardiovascular diseases, and they increased its incidence because of that. And also more than 65% of the cancer cases are over the age of 65, and the cancer ratio increases as the age increases. Because the lifespan increases, now our patients are able to get diagnosed, and before that people were passing away before diagnosis, and today we are able to diagnose it much earlier, so our numbers are increased because of that. The main cancer type, breast cancer, prostate, then lung cancer, etc. follows it. The lung cancer is the first in the fatal disease, then it's followed by other cancer types. And in the incidence of the cancer and its mortality, when we look at it, in 1990s, due to nuclear events, there is increase in its incidence, then it's lowered, and 2020s, the incidence raises. But we see mortality lowers down. The mortality lowering is due to treatment, immunotherapies, target-oriented therapies. It's all thanks to them. Also early diagnosis, of course. We are saying that early diagnosis saves life. It's a cliche, but still it's the truth. And if we are able to catch cancer in early stages, in first or second stage, and if they have not spread to another organ from its original organ, we have seen that 9 out of the 10 patients can continue living. If it's on the 4th stage, if it got metastasis, then that means in 5 years only 1 in 10 patients is able to live. And we have a surgical oncologist, a medical oncologist, is who we are. on the forefront. It's a multidisciplinary approach from the diagnosis to having correct surgeon, and then will we having chemotherapy, immunotherapy, surgery, how will the treatment shape, making this decision as a team is really important when we look at our treatment options. I will be mentioning these one by one soon, from the olden ages to today. It was thought that surgery was the only choice, then radiotherapy, then chemotherapy came up. Now we have target-oriented treatments, and also we have immunotherapies, and after they take their place in the field, there's a new age coming for the oncologist. So what is chemotherapy, and when was it started to be used? It began during the World War II, and in an airstrike, soldiers got affected by the nitrogen gas. In the year blood test, it was seen that their lymphocytes were so low. Then they started using in the lymphoma and leukemia, and then afterwards, when you look at its history at the beginning of the 1900s, and we have serious studies on immune systems, but first use in the 1940s, then after that we have other chemotherapic agents in time. And in oncology practice, when do we use chemotherapy? If you ask me, we are using it in every stage actually. In post-operative patients, we are using it to prevent repeat of the disease. We also use it to increase survival rate of the patient, and for them we use it pre-treatment. In the cervix cancers, head, neck cancers, we use it together with radiotherapy. And other than this, in all of the patients that has metastasis, we use it actively in them. And then we have immunotherapy in addition to the chemotherapy. How does it work, we should ask. And then how do we do it? Our immune system distinguishes between our own cells and foreign cells, and they fight with the foreign cells. But a tumor binds with the receptors on the T cells, and it prevents our immune system to fight against our cancer cells. And this immunotherapy removes this protection, helps us immune system to fight against the cancer cells. And compared to the traditional treatments, how it's different, what does it give to us? Chemotherapy both to healthy and unhealthy cells, but immunotherapy directly targets cancer cells, and it helps us to get better results, and it ensures that we have lesser side effects thanks to the immunotherapy. And we told that immunotherapies, it was first started in 2010s. In 2018, the finders of it got Nobel medical prize. And also we have target-oriented treatments. How do they work? On the cell surface, their receptors. These receptors are more in cancer cells, and they could have abnormal shapes. Targeted treatment, targeting receptors on the cancer cells, they bind with them, and they destroy the cancerous cells by binding with this receptor. Imagine a lung cancer patient, and let's say that we had genetical tests in 3 patients. We found EGPR, and then we targetedly treat that by targeting that receptor. If it's ALK receptor, we use a treatment that will bind with the ALK receptor. If in the 3rd patient, if there are no any mutation, then we use conventional methods like chemotherapy, immunotherapy. Since 2000s, the discovered targeted therapies and mutations, some of them is on the slide, but there's much more, of course. that we use, it's really good news for our patients. So target-oriented treatments, before using them, what do? We first make a genetical sequencing to the patient. When the patient arrives, we look at their biopsy sample taken from the patient or their liquid biopsy from their blood. We get the genetic profile and we try to find genetical mutations specific to the cancer type. Then we have wide spectrum gene analysis. Then we define a specialized therapy for the patient. This is called precision medicine. It's individualized therapy. Before then, while we only had chemotherapies, when we had a colon cancer or the lung cancer, we used to use same chemotherapy. Some of the people were really benefiting from that, some did not, some had to leave the treatment because of the side effects. So we have specialized treatments thanks to the advancement, so our success rate is much more higher now in the precision medicine. We don't have only genomical data, we also have the options of the patient, his medical history, what they experienced, their past diseases, etc. So economical status is also involved in that. Unfortunately, in the target-oriented treatments, immunotherapies, they are still so expensive, so not everyone is able to do that, and unfortunately, government doesn't support that, and what we call precision medicine, with international guideline, we make a treatment plan, we give patient options, and we find what is good for the patient, suitable for the patient, and we continue on. And we have the CT here, and this one. Let's say that patient got operated and came to us, and we used to treat it in a certain way, but in macroscopically we don't have any disease, but if we can see it in the macroscopical, we are not able to see it microscopically, and we can see the DNA in the blood. So, and we are able to follow the neuroadjuvant treatment response, and we can also use it in the early diagnosis in the metastatic patients. When we apply them treatment, we are able to monitor the success of it with our methods, and also the after treatment monitored patients in their early recurrence, we are able to detect that thanks to that test. Also, we already talked about artificial intelligence. I would like to skip this one. Then I would like to mention the cancer vaccine topic. It's a really hot topic. Everyone is constantly talking about this, but it is not a vaccine as we understand, is it? Does it protect against cancer? No, it's unfortunately not. The cancer vaccine is something agents that applies to the immune system. It could be viral, heptic, nucleic acid based. They could be comes in all shapes and sizes, and right now we don't have any vaccine to prevent any cancer. Maybe cervix cancer, we have HPV vaccine. It's only towards HPV virus. It's not something that prevents cancer. Hopefully we will have it in the future, but right now we don't have any vaccine that will protect against cancer. I would like to mention that. So, to summarize, oncology, where did it start? In 1950s, started with single-word chemotherapy agents, and we used to have the same treatment for all of the patient group. Then we started having a subgroup, adenocancer, small cell, etc. And we managed to have subgroups for all kinds of cancer. Then we started to give treatments according to this. Right now, we have individualized treatment right now. And according to this person's genetical map, we are able to specialize our treatment according to that person, specific to that person. So oncology came a long way from 1950s to today. With this slide, I wanted to summarize it. And it came a long way. it made a good way and it has a good future. And for patients, we have hope. As long as there's science, we will have hope. Thank you very much for listening to me. Thank you. So thank you. It's a real good meeting. When I think about our own congresses, really having so much participation, it's really good. So organizing committee really done good. You are our future. And I would like to thank you. If you have a few questions, we can have a few questions.
Evet sorabilirsiniz. Mikrofon verebilir miyiz arkadaşa?
Yes, you may ask. Can we give microphone to our college there? First of all, hello. So I wanted to ask something about the cancer this time. I lost my uncle to cancer and my cousin is cancer patient. My mother's aunt died of cancer. In pathology class, we have seen that cancer is based on genes. Also, lung cancer is different than that. What do you think about that? Is it gene-based or could it be environmental? Also, it was talked that it's multiplied by sugar. It was talked in previous conferences, but yes. Breast cancer, for example, can be transferred genetically. In colon cancer, again, maybe Mrs. Ram will explain in depth. So yes, I told it before, cancer is not a single disease. It's one of the 100. It's lung cancer. So were they smoking, for example, all of them had lung cancer, and you look at that, these are different cancers. My uncle, my aunt had cervix cancer, my uncle had lung cancer, it went to the brain, he had treatment, lived for 2 years, he was in Cerrahpaşa actually, yes, it was so intense cancer, then by defining them what kind of cancer they are, we should be discussing it with the clinician. It could be different things, they could be different, they could be the same. I came here to give an answer. So it could be anything, I mean. Right now in our hospital we have genetic departments, so they are making genetical counseling. So you can apply to them, for example. You can just go to them.
And I'm going to be making a lot of people very angry with me right now. Tamam, Türkçe söylemeye çalışayım o zaman.
I will try to say it in Turkish, otherwise it will be a problem. A few weeks ago there was an article in Cross Biology. In English, it's the end of the genetic era in cancer. It's this
Cancer, what we think cancer is, because we have a very strong belief that it is point mutations that are driver mutations leading to dysplasia, leading to cancer. In your example, there's definitely, as Mustafa just said, probably a genetic germline reality, so something coming from the family. But if you look into the systems biology, we see a lot more effectors, for example, of the intestinal microbiome, where you see hundreds and thousands of different effectors that are not just through mutations, but are through changes in the immune system. So there's a lot of very strong brains, and I would just like to pick up on what Mustafa just said in his talk. Try to think disruptive. Provoke us. Ask these questions. Why are we right about this truth that we all think that mutation is the only thing in cancer, right? We have so many examples of targeted therapies that are not curing patients, right? So I'm just want to provoke a little bit, sorry.
Teşekkür ediyoruz.
Thank you very much. And we will be having the video conference connection of the Professor Dr. Aziz Sancar. Before closing the session, I would like to thank all of the participants for their participation. I would like to thank also the organizing committee of the Cansağlığı Foundation. I would like to thank you all, especially our participant students. I'm so glad that you are here.
Salondan ayrılmayalım.
Please do not leave the hall.
Şimdi de konuşma
Now to make their speech for one of the most important scientists of Turkish history, we are going to connect him online.
Recording in progress.
Beni duyuyor musunuz?
duyabiliyoruz hocam.
Oldu, sağ olun, teşekkür ederim.
Sayın Prof.
Esteemed Professor Dr. Aziz Sancar, he will be talking about in Cansağlığı International Medicine Conference. You're welcome.
Şu an salonda sizleri
And now we are fully focused to listen to you together with our students. And if you are available as well, we'd like to leave the stage to you. Thank you very much. There could I will be making my presentation in English.
I will present to you my thoughts and experiences in science and the lesson to be learned from these. And as you see from the title, it is Science Empowered Nations I chose that title because if you are powerful in science, you are powerful in everything. So for a nation to be powerful, to be among the top nations in the world, it needs to be very strong in science. I can't emphasize this enough. So I hope this message gets across when I present my speech here. Now this is the map of the Ottoman Empire and at its peak in 1666, and it is one of the longest lasting world empire, over 600 years, and it lasted that long because the Ottoman throughout their history, throughout our history, they are our grandfathers. Throughout our history, we emphasized science and technology, and that was the reason that the empire was strong and it enlarged over a large part of the world. But then, for whatever reason, around 16th century, we stopped doing science, and after that, the Ottoman Empire continually lost territory, and we ended up with, I hope you can read it, on 11 March 1890, 5-hour banquet, etc., in Berlin City Hall. They're supposed to talk about various things, but one was dominated by a 5-meter oil painting of Bismarck and other European statement. The key word or key phrases, the goal of this Berlin meeting was carving up the Turkish Empire at the Congress of Berlin. And this is not a political science book. It is I read it in this book, Chasing the Molecule. It is a book about history of chemistry, actually. As a chemist, I was interested to read it. And this meeting was to celebrate the solution of the structure of benzene, which is one of the key molecules in organic chemistry and other organic chemistry structures. Now, that's what happened to the Ottoman Empire, and I put this next to the cover of the Nobel Prize book for Nobel Prize in chemistry in year 2015, and scientists who, Nobel prizes in general in 2015, and scientists in chemistry, in physics, chemistry, medicine, and so on. And the interesting thing is, a day before the award ceremony, there was a banquet for the chemistry laureates, and the selection committee chair sat next to me, and she said, Aziz, did you know that just like Turkey, China also for the first time is getting a Nobel Prize in sciences? And so that was in a way a good news, that it wasn't just Turkey, but other countries also. A country like China, which is very strong now, for the first time getting Nobel Prize, and so it was satisfying to me to hear that. But, and I'm making a bold statement here, I believe China in the next 25 years will get at least 5 Nobel Prizes. And what happened to the Ottoman Empire and to Turkey was an absolute catastrophe. In World War I, we were on the losing side of the war, and there was a Congress in Paris to decide the fate of the countries that were on the losing side. And here is what it says. In 1919, Wilson, George, and Clemenceau together controlled the world. Sitting in Paris, they determined what countries would exist and which would not, what new countries would be created, what their boundaries would be, who would rule them, and how the Middle East and other parts of the world would be divided up among the victorious powers. Basically, what it says is the United States, England, and France would rule the world. And in the process, they will determine which countries exist, which do not. And so this is the world situation after World War I. Black is ruled by the West. You see a large part of the world is ruled by the West, and the stripes is heavily influenced by the West, is Turkey among them, and actually or nominally independent of the West. And so, as you see, these Western powers are ruling the world after World War II. And in particular, what they, through their generosity, what they gave us after World War II, World War I, was this, in self-treaty. We lost the entire empire, and including our capital, Istanbul, and we were left this part of Anatolia as the so-called Ottoman Empire or Turkish state. And of course, thanks to God, Turks did think differently. They said, we do not accept it. If you're talking about nation states, this is what we consider nation state for Turkey. And this was the what we call Misak-ı Milli in Turkish, and National Covenant in English, that we will not settle for less than this as our natural border for Turkey. And for that, we went through the world of national liberation under the leadership of Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, and we created the current Turkish Republic, Türkiye Cumhuriyeti. And a great accomplishment of the new republic and the new form of government, which is a republican government, after İstiklal Savaşı was to establish civil rights, women rights, emphasize education and science and technology. And Atatürk continuously emphasized science and technology, and not just Atatürk, but also his co-workers were equally aware of the importance of science, education, science, and technology in the most critical hours of war of national liberation. In Turkish, it's Sakarya Savaşı, where the country either exists or will be gone. The education experts were sitting in Ankara and designing the new education curriculum, because they knew if you liberate the country, if you don't have education, that country still would be led by so-called Western powers. And so because of these changes, then we had the modern Turkey. And one of the daughters of modern Turkey is my mother, Meryem Sancar, from Savur, Mardin in southeastern Turkey. This is a picture of her pregnant with me, and in the background is my 4-year-old sister. So, as I said, after the Republic, education was greatly emphasized, and in all parts of Turkey, primary and secondary schools were established, and this is my 4th-year primary school picture in 1954 with my fellow students and our teachers, our teacher. Now, I won't go through the rest of my experience to getting the Nobel Prize, but after that I got excellent education in Savur and Mardin, and went to Istanbul Medical School, got outstanding education there. Istanbul Medical School was one of the best in Europe when I went to medical school, and I continued my post-medical education in the United States in biochemistry, and finally in 2015 I received the Nobel Prize with my colleagues Paul Modich and Thomas Lindahl in 2015, and that's a picture of that. And as I said, I think all these became possible because of the educational and scientific revolution that Atatürk and his co-workers established in Turkey, and therefore I and my wife, the American wife, believed that this Nobel medal truly belonged to Atatürk, and more so to the Turkish nation, to those who established the Turkish Republic, and its symbol of that is Anıtkabir, and we decided to put the Nobel Prize in Anıtkabir, and this is a picture showing me, my wife, and goddaughter, and the exhibition in Anıt Kabir of the Nobel Prize. Now, we really don't emphasize one thing about the accomplishment of Atatürk and his colleagues. They established a precedent. They were role models for all so-called third world countries. They gave him the notion that they can do what Atatürk and the other Turkish nationalists did, meaning liberate their country. Mao did it in China, Ali Jinnah did it in Pakistan, Gandhi did it in India, Nelson Mandela did it in Africa, and Nasser did it in Egypt. And I'm not saying this to assign credit to Atatürk. These people, all of them, in their biographies, have acknowledged Atatürk's effect on their thinking and on their movement of liberation. So I think for my Turkish, young Turkish colleagues, when you go abroad, you go to other countries, you make sure that we established the liberation movement throughout the world. So after World War I, then there was World War II, and luckily we had enough common sense not to get into the massive World War II. That was none of our business, and then the world was divided into so-called free world, which is the Western-dominated world, the USA, France, and England dominated world, and the communist bloc, which was dominated by Russia and including China also, and so-called unaligned nations. And this figure is taken from a book called The Clash of Civilization by Samuel Huntington. And so it is interesting that because such a large part of the world was part of the Turkish Empire, of Ottoman Empire, especially the Middle East. As a child, I always thought that Aleppo was part of Turkey because there was so much back and forth going and coming to Aleppo, and my uncle was doing trade with Aleppo and talking about Aleppo, this Aleppo, that, Halep for Turkish audience. And as a kid, I always thought it was in Syria. It's so close to my hometown, to Sabur. And so, but by the time I was in middle school, I knew it was not part of Turkey. It was in Syria. But the reason I'm showing you this is the following. in 2016 there was American presidential election, and as it happens in all countries, in presidential election, presidential candidates have debates and etc. And then people elect one of them as presidential candidate and so on. So one of the presidential candidate was a gentleman named Gary Johnson. And so the moderator, they were discussing the Middle East, and the moderator said, well, what are you going to do about Aleppo? There was the civil war in Syria during that period. And Gary Johnson had never even heard of Aleppo. And says, what is Aleppo? He didn't even know it was a city. And he's running for presidency of the United States. And so the reason I'm saying this is I think there was kind of arrogance in the West about the Middle East, the rest of the world, that he didn't give a damn about Aleppo, about the Middle East. And when you are like that, bad things happen. Benim annem hep derdi,
As my mother always said, don't be prideful. Pride is just for God. It is not for humankind.
Gary Johnson had kibir, and because of that, not just he, many people in the United States had that, and for that reason the United States suffered. While the United States was being ignorant about the rest of the world, China was making big strides in science. And I'll show you a few slides about that. This is a page from a chemistry magazine reporting about the International Chemistry Olympiad. And you see the title, China won the Chemistry Olympiad. But really the interesting thing is, look at the American team. This is the American team. This is not the Chinese team. This is the American team. The Chinese had trained their kids so well. And by then, by 2016, there were many Chinese scientists who had come to this country and joined businesses, universities, etc. And of course, their kids got education in the United States. And you know, the Olympiad team is chosen by competition, and the entire American team was the children of those immigrants. And you see the American team. And my very close associate and I became curious about what's going on in this subject. And since 2012, we have been following the American Chemistry Olympiad team. And you see them. You may see one or two Indians and maybe one Anglo-Saxon, but basically it's all dominated by Chinese kids, because China emphasized science emphasize education. And that's why Gary Johnson was terribly wrong, and that's why this is what is happening right now. Science is becoming the dominant country in China is becoming dominant country in science, and this graph was taken from Science magazine issue of 2022, showing the state of scientific contribution of various countries from 1997 to 2019. In 1997 to 99 period, you see USA contribution is over 40%, close to 45%. United Kingdom is second, Germany, Japan, and so on, and the rest of the contribution is by this top 10. There is no China in this list. You go to 2007, 2009, United States still is number one. All of a sudden you see China jump where it didn't exist in this graph. It jumped from nowhere to number 2. It passed United Kingdom, England, and Germany, and Japan. Number 1, United States. Number 2, China. Now you come into 2019. China passed the United States. China is now number 1 in science in the world. It passed the United States. This was a total shock. And this is why I told you this story about Gary Johnson, about his ignorance, about other countries, and about the neglect of what is going on in the world in terms of science. You have to do science. You have to invest science to be powerful in anything. So United States, as you see, from way in 99 being number 1, way up, contributing more than the rest of the world to become number 2 to China. And whereas China, who was way down here, is now number 1. And this is not just a recognition that was made by a scientific journal, The Economist. This is The Economist, is very influential magazine. In 15 June 2024 issue, they are again analyze scientific progress, and you see it again, China from nowhere becoming number 1, and this is in the distribution among various disciplines where China is number 1: material science, chemistry, engineering, computer science, and so on. In all these, they have become number 1. I always compare Turkey in particular and Turkish world in general. I hope there will be a Turkish world. And so that's the way I think about it when I make comparison. So while China making those kind of progress, where does the Turkish world stand? Turkish world meaning Turkey, Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, have same land mass and same natural resources as China. And if they work together, can they accomplish what China has accomplished? I hope we do. I hope we put our efforts together and accomplish what China has. So there are some positive signs. This is High School Chemistry Olympiad in 2021. There is again, you see China's dominating, but there is an Uzbek kid, and there is a Turkish kid here, and another Turkish kid there, who have won gold medal in chemistry Olympiad. And you see the American kids who won the Nobel, the gold medal, again, are this one is Chinese, and this one is Chinese Taipei. Anyhow, that's not our problem. The issue is, from our perspective, that Turkish world is making progress. We hope that they will join forces and work together for better future. And so I'm not a politician or a political science expert, but as a scientist, my recommendation for Turkish science, not just Turkey, the entire Turkish world, is make basic science priority. You need basic science. Technology, etc., is good, but you need basic science. Without that, then technology you import it from other countries, and you always depend on other countries. It is a big problem in Turkey. Not so much in the other Turkic countries. We don't send our girls to school, especially higher education. I think we lose half of our workforce. So it's important that we give them equal opportunities and emphasize experimental science over theory. When I was in Turkey, we didn't have resources. I was very good in theory. I came here, I couldn't do the simplest experiment, and with that kind of background, you cannot practice science. And the way to do it is you, at early age, you make kids do an experiment. And number 4, keep politics and religion out of science. Politics is politics, whatever your party is, and religion, we're Muslim country, so all Turkic countries are majority Muslim, and some are very religious practices, some are lax. You just keep it out of science. And equally important, scientists should not comment about religion, should not criticize religion. This is really a problem in Turkey. If you're a scientist, you believe in evolution, etc., you say evolution and science cannot coexist. Well, fine, it's fine for you, but just do not attack people of religious belief. And unfortunately, that is a problem in Turkey. And number 6, provide merit-based funding and promotions. I think we're making progress in that area from my observation at Hacettepe, Bilkent, and private universities, Sabancı and Koç. So we are making progress. And for scientists, give them freedom to do their research. Don't tell them cure this disease, work on this plant, etc. If scientist is interested in something, if is really good scientist, he or she will work day and night to solve the problem. And when the problem is solved, there is always going to be benefit to humanity. So just to give you an example, first of all, I want to qualify it. I don't claim to have had any contribution to CRISPR, but the first paper that discovered CRISPR by a Japanese scientist was using a method I developed called MaxiCell. He was using MaxiCell method to study some other protein, and through that study he found his protein, but he also found CRISPR. He didn't really know what it was, but that was the first CRISPR paper. And then other people saw the same sequence in other bacteria, etc., and then CRISPR became a major hit. So my point is, if a scientist is interested and dedicated to a scientific question, and one way or another, it's going to benefit humankind. And of course, this is for the Turkic science to be successful as and be able to compete with China, because that's my point of reference. First of all, we are 5-6 states, and Turkey is the biggest one, both scientifically, technologically, and population-wise. But in dealing with one another, there should not be big brother, young brother attitude. There should be student exchange, faculty exchange, and there is a movement for transition to common alphabet, unfortunately moving rather slowly. It's not like Atatürk doing it overnight, but it is moving. And curriculum coordination, and this could, number 6 could be controversial, but in my opinion, we should not let non-Turkic organizations have colleges, universities in Turkish states. No. I feel very strongly about this. Finally, I think I've said it, and even in the Nobel in a meeting organized by Nobel committee, not just Turkey or Turkic world, all countries should invest more in STEM than they invest in arms and killing one another and creating havoc in the world. So I want to close by my experience and my visits in various Turk countries. This was in Azerbaijan 2017, an interview. This person interviewed me, asked me, what is your dream? And I said, my dream for Turkic world is to have unity. And I've said it in Uzbekistan, and I said it in Dallas, also at my alma mater, where there is an Uzbek family, and when they heard that, there is a very accomplished professor there, Anwar Zahidov, and this is his son Jihangir. A year after I gave my talk, Jihangir and Güzel had a son, and they named them after me, Sancar Beg. And as you all know, we have founded Turkish Center in Chapel Hill. This is the Turkish Cultural Center, and right behind it, we are about to finish the Turkish Scholars Residence that will host 8 Turkish students and scholars. But I want to show you the library of the Turkish Center, and as you see, this is the way I see the Turkic world, and that's why we have the flags of all the Turkic countries, and of course our the country that have given us home here in the United States, and this is the rest of the Turkic countries. Sağ olun, var olun.
Thank you very much for listening to me. Thank you for your attention.
Aziz hocam, ekranda sunum
Thank you, Mr. Aziz. We cannot see your face because there is a presentation open. Could you close the presentation? We have colleagues who want to see your face. Would you like to say a few words about the Congress in Turkish? Would you like to give us a few words on Congress in Turkish? About Congress, the conference. Would
Student Conference.
Başlasam bitiremem çünkü
even if I start talking, I wouldn't be able to finish it. First of all, I would like to thank you all for saying this, because I really like Bayraktar family. I especially like Selçuk, like my brother, and I was going to thank them for their efforts. It's a real great change. It's a great development. And I believe that we will be victorious, and I really trust them and him and his brother. I wish them success by God, and what you have done, for what you have done, the Turkey should be grateful towards you. I'm so grateful. I'm really proud of you. I always talk highly of you for your services to Turkey. And for your services to Turkey, I would like to thank you on my behalf. Esteemed Aziz Sancar, we would like to thank you for giving us time and giving us such a speech. We would like to give him our love from Turkey, which he loves and respects.
15 dakika ara
We will have 15-minute break. Then we will be continuing with our Professor Dr. Özge Karada's speech.